What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and today we have our final Battle of Chaos OCG reveal discussion video because as of now the entire set has been revealed. Battle of Chaos has been a very interesting set so far. We have tons of competitive cards, tons of fun casual cards, and this last batch of cards seems to be more on the casual side in my opinion, but they are still pretty interesting. I also want to talk about Chronicle Magician, a new card that supports Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. This one isn't part of the Battle of Chaos set. It is a V-Jump promo card, but I wanted to include it in today's video anyway. First up though, and this might be a little bit hard to tell from the artwork here, but we're talking about a Shining Friendship upgrade. So this is a level 4 light rock effect monster with 700 attack and 2000 defense. It cannot be destroyed by battle, and it says at the start of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can place one peace counter on this card, maximum 4. Then you can apply one of these effects based on how many peace counters there are on this card. If there's 1, you can take one monster from your deck and place it on top of your deck. If there's 2, you get to draw one card. If there's 3, add one monster from your deck to your hand, no restrictions there. Or if you have 4 peace counters on this card, you get to add one card from your deck to your hand. Wow, that is a pretty crazy effect if you manage to get it to work. Now this card is obviously not meant to be competitively viable. The last batch of cards that have been revealed all seem pretty casual in my opinion, but man, this card is so tempting because honestly, if you can even get the add one monster from your deck to your hand effect, that is pretty good. That being said, it's way too slow. It doesn't have enough protection. It can't be destroyed by battle, which is nice. I think this card needs an effect like that, but it also probably needs other effects as well. I could see someone making a meme deck with this card though to try and get to those 4 peace counters, but yeah, it's probably not going to see any competitive play. Speaking of cards that are cool but will probably never see competitive play, we have this Mecha Beast monster. It's a level 1 Dark Machine effect monster with question mark attack and 0 defense. It says once per turn you can activate this effect. This card's original attack becomes equal to the sum of the difference between the current attack and the original attack of all monsters on the field until the end of your opponent's turn. It's pretty challenging to make that effect work, but oh man, if it does work, it will be pretty hilarious. The biggest issue is that to make this card work, you'd probably have to build your entire deck around it, which is fine, but if you build a deck where the goal is to increase the attack of your monsters so much that Daretron is actually a threat, at that point you might as well just OTK your opponent with all of the monsters that now have a lot of attack points. Now of course, this card's attack stat is changed by the opponent's monsters stats as well, so you could theoretically like decrease your opponent's monsters attack to give this card even more attack points, but realistically I don't think that's very consistent. You also could just wait around for your opponent to increase their own attack points, but that's not really a reliable way to use this card. Most modern decks don't play a lot of attack modifying cards, so you really would have to build your own deck around this. This is probably a card that will pop up in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro replays every once in a while as kind of a funny way to OTK the opponent, but in reality I think any Mecha Beast deck is going to be worse than like Gren Maju, for example. Next up, let's look at a card that I think actually does have potential. This is Imitarian, a level 7 light rock effect monster that says you can only use this card name's effect once per turn. You contribute one effect monster, special summon this card from your hand, then special summon one token at level 1 attack 0 defense 0 with the same original type and attribute as the monster you tributed. So basically this card could theoretically be played in any deck that wants to put a monster in the graveyard. When you think of cards like Salamangreat Almirage or Link Kribo, 9 times out of 10 they're being played specifically so that you can put a monster in the graveyard, maybe to trigger its effect, maybe to set up another play, but that's what they're used for. It's not so much about their on-field effects. And I feel like this card is very similar. Now, it's a main deck monster, not an extra deck monster, which does make it a lot worse for this type of interaction, but it does come with a benefit. it puts a level 7 monster on the board, it summons a token to replace the monster you tributed, and for that reason I think this card could actually see play in the future. I'm sure Imitarian will fly under the radar. I don't think this is the type of card that gets people really excited, but personally I do think it's a lot better than people are maybe giving it credit for, and I think it could see play at some point if you could find the right deck for it. There are a lot of decks that want to put cards in the graveyard that you couldn't send to the graveyard with Almirage or Linkuriboh, and in those cases Imitarian might be the option that they're going to want to try out. The final Battle of Chaos card I'll talk about in today's video before moving on to Chronicle Magician will be the Withered Flounder, a level 3 dark psychic effect monster with question mark attack and question mark defense. You can only use this card name's one effect once per turn. During your standby phase, if this card is in your hand or graveyard and your opponent has more cards in their graveyard than you do, you can special summon this card. Gains 200 attack and defense for each card in your opponent's graveyard. Now I do want to mention here, this is not a card that you should go out there and try to build a deck around, even as a meme. 200 attack and defense for each card in your opponent's graveyard is simply not enough to get this card up to any meaningful attack stat. Where I could see this card being played though is in decks that want to special summon level 3 monsters to start off their combos. What I mean by that is that when you go second, your opponent is probably going to have at least one card in their graveyard before you ever put any cards in yours, and that means that Withered Flounder is a free special summon during your first standby phase. Even if you did like hand trap the opponent though, the chances are pretty high that they put more than one card in their graveyard. When someone goes first, they usually put a whole bunch of cards in the graveyard, so even if you did have a hand trap, I wouldn't be too worried about being able to summon this monster. We're not talking about using this card to gain incremental value every single turn by reviving it, although that could be a nice bonus. It's not really the main focus of this card. You could play it in a Phantom Knight deck, for example, or another deck that wants to put level 3s on the board on turn 1, and I think that's where this card might see a bit of experimentation. Now admittedly, there are a lot of level 3 extenders in the game, so I'm not sure if this card will be worth it, considering when you go first it's probably unusable, but hey, at least it does look adorable and it could be played in level 3 decks. Finally, we have Chronicle Magician, and I just want to say here that what was it, like a month or so ago when I was talking about how often Konami puts out Dark Magician and Blue Eyes support, and yet again here it's like, can Konami even go 1 week without revealing Dark Magician or Blue Eyes support? I don't really know if that's possible at this point. Chronicle Magician is a level 7 dark spellcaster effect monster with 2500 attack and defense. It says you can only use the 1 and 2 effect of this card's name each once per turn. If a monster or monsters with 2500 original attack and or defense is normal or special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. If this card is special summoned, you can target one Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon you control. It gains 2500 attack and defense until the end of this turn. Now in theory, sure, that is a lot of damage. This card has 2500 attack, you give the other monster 2500 more attack. Yeah, maybe you could OTK the opponent if they had an open board. That being said, I mean, come on, why does this card exist? I don't really understand it. I would have liked to see this card either have a better effect so that Dark Magician and or Blue Eyes players would consider playing it, or I'd like to see it not be a Dark Magician / Blue Eyes support card at all. I'm so sick of seeing mediocre Blue Eyes and Dark Magician support at this point. It seems like every single week we get a new card for one of those two boss monsters, and at this point, if they want to give us more support for those two cards, please at least let it be playable. But I think at some point Konami has to say, okay, this is a bit unnecessary, and I think with Chronicle Magician that is absolutely the case. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.